Now that you know more about the different services you can host on a cloud provider, let's talk about how to make the most of the cloud for your organization. As we've mentioned in previous lessons, when we say that a service is running in the cloud, we mean that it's running somewhere else, either in a data center or in other remote servers. These data centers house a large assortment of machines, and different types of machines are used for different services. For example, some machines may have local solid-state drive (SSD) for increased performance, while others may rely on virtual drives mounted over the network to lower cost. When you use software as a service or SaaS, the software is already pre-configured and the user isn't deeply involved in the cloud configuration. If you choose a cloud email solution like Gmail, a cloud storage solution like Dropbox, or a cloud productivity suite like Microsoft Office 365, there are only a small number of options for you to select or customize. The cloud provider manages everything related to the service for you, including deciding where the VMs are hosted, ensuring that it has enough capacity to serve your needs, performing backups frequently and reliably, and more. When you use Infrastructure as Service, or IaaS, on the other hand, you're hosting your own services in the cloud. You need to decide how you want the infrastructure to look, depending on what you want to run on it. For example, you'll need to decide which of the many available machine types you'll use and what kind of storage they'll need. Pro tip: start small, then select more powerful instances as needed. When you set up cloud resources, you'll need to consider regions. A region is a geographical location containing a number of data centers. Each of these data centers is called a zone, and each zone is independent of the others. If one of them fails for some reason, the others are still available and services can be migrated without visibly affecting users. Large cloud providers usually offer their services in lots of different regions around the world, and which region you choose will mostly depend on where your users are located. Smaller cloud providers may offer fewer regions, but they may be the only provider with the availability in your city or country. It doesn't matter where exactly the data center is located, but users may experience more latency if it's further away from them. You may also hear about public, private, and hybrid clouds. The public cloud is what we call cloud services provided to you by a third party. The name refers to the fact that the cloud providers offer services to the public. When your company owns the services and the rest of your infrastructure, whether on-site or in a remote data center, we call that the private cloud. And the hybrid cloud is a mixture of both public and private cloud. Some workloads are run on servers owned by your company, while others are run on servers owned by a third party. The trick to making the most of the hybrid cloud is ensuring that everything is integrated smoothly, so you can access, migrate, and manage data seamlessly no matter where it's hosted. Let's say you have a web server providing a website to clients. In a typical setup for this kind of service running in the cloud, a number of virtual machines will be serving this same website. A load balancer ensures that each VM receives a balanced number of queries. Whenever there's a request for your website, a different VM will be picked to serve the response. These types of services are usually configured to spin up more virtual machines when there are a lot of queries, and to shut down some of the VMs when the number of queries goes down. This capability is called auto-scaling. It allows the service to increase or reduce capacity as needed, while the service owner only pays for the cost of the machines that are in use at any given time. Since some machines will shut down when the demand is lower, their local disks will also disappear and should be considered ephemeral or short-lived. If you need data persistence, you'll have to create separate storage resources to hold that data and connect that storage to the VMs. Usually, VMs operating websites or web services are connected to a database, also running in the cloud. This database is also served by multiple machines behind a load balancer, but this is managed by the cloud provider and doesn't concern the cloud user. To make sure the service is running smoothly, you can set up monitoring and alerting. When you do this, you can detect and correct any problems with your service before your users even notice. Most cloud providers include monitoring and alerting solutions as part of their services. You can configure when and how you want to be alerted if the monitoring infrastructure detects performance issues. It may seem tricky to set up cloud resources, but most providers make them easy to configure. We've also included some additional information in the supplemental reading to help you along. As an IT support specialist, you might have to decide when a cloud service is a better choice than using your own physical hardware. We've touched on this already, but let's dive deeper into what to consider when you're making this decision. Using cloud infrastructure doesn't require a large upfront investment, so it's a good choice if you aren't sure how long you'll need it. If you're setting up temporary infrastructure or trying something that might not last, a cloud service may be your best option. Choosing to use cloud infrastructure also makes sense when you have demand that varies greatly throughout the year. If you operate a website that gets a lot of traffic during one season, but much less for the remainder of the year, you wouldn't want to invest a lot of infrastructure just to have it sit idle most of the time. Another reason to choose the cloud is geographical location. If your users, employees of your company or external users of your services are distributed around the world, having all of your servers on site won't satisfy their needs. You'll want to use a provider that has data centers in or close to the locations that you want to serve. Let's say you've decided that your use case fits the cloud model. How do you decide which of the many cloud providers to use? Take a look at your specific needs and compare the services offered by the various providers, and then figure out which one best serves your needs. Most cloud providers offer free trials, so it's a good idea to test them out to see if they meet your needs and to check how well your company's infrastructure integrates with the cloud providers. Finally, the technology in this space is evolving quickly. There are more services and solutions offered by cloud providers every year. So make sure you're up to date about the latest changes in the field before making a decision. That's it. Now you've got a better idea of what to think about when you want to move your services to the cloud. To help you practice these concepts, you'll be the one setting up the instances and the associated resources in the next quick lab exercises, instead of connecting to an already existing VM. Exciting, right? Well, you've done it again. You've covered a lot of information in this module about software and platform services. You've learned about IT infrastructure services that help a business stay productive, like communication services. You learned about security services that keep information secure between web browsers and servers. You also learned about platform services that are used to deliver application to users. In the next module, we'll talk about managing users, computers, and policies using directory services. You're doing an awesome job. I know we're covering a lot, but stick with it. You got this.